I'm Thomas, 47 years old, and I thought I knew what betrayal looked like. I thought it was your wife sleeping with another man. I thought it was finding hotel receipts and lies about working late. But real betrayal? Real betrayal is when your own mother looks you in the eye and helps them do it. My wife Sarah was 39 when everything fell apart. We'd been married 16 years of what I thought was a good life in Riverside, California. 2 kids, Emma, 14, and Jake, 12. A house with a mortgage we were actually ahead on. Sarah worked part-time at a dental office. I managed a small construction crew. We weren't rich, but we were solid, or so I thought. My mother, Linda, lived 10 minutes away in the same neighborhood where I grew up. She was 68, widowed for 3 years since Dad passed. Sarah and my mom had always been close. Too close, maybe. They'd go shopping together, have coffee dates, share secrets like they were sisters instead of mother and daughter-in-law. I used to think it was sweet. I used to think a lot of things were sweet that turned out to be poison. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday in March. I came home from work early because we'd finished a job ahead of schedule. Sarah's car wasn't in the driveway, but that wasn't unusual. What was unusual was finding her purse on the kitchen counter and her phone plugged in by the sink. Sarah never went anywhere without her phone. Never. When she walked in 2 hours later, she looked surprised to see me. "Hey, you're home early," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Where were you? Your purse is here." "Oh, I just went for a walk. Needed some air." A 2-hour walk without her phone? Sarah hated walking. She complained when she had to park more than 50 feet from a store entrance. But I didn't push it. Maybe I should have. Maybe if I'd asked the right questions then, I could have saved myself months of hell. The second sign came 3 weeks later. Sarah started volunteering at the local animal shelter on weekends. This was a woman who'd refused to let our kids have a goldfish because pets were too much responsibility. Suddenly, she was passionate about helping abandoned dogs. "It's good for my soul," she said when I questioned the sudden change. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that my wife of 16 years was just going through some kind of midlife awakening. Maybe she was trying to find herself, become a better person. Maybe I was lucky to have a wife who cared about helping others. The third sign was my mother. Mom started calling more often. Not me, Sarah. They'd talk for hours, voices dropping to whispers when I walked into the room. When I asked what they talked about so much, Mom would wave me off. "Girl talk, honey. You wouldn't understand." Girl talk. My 68-year-old mother and my 39-year-old wife having girl talk for 3 hours every Tuesday night. The fourth sign was the gym membership. Sarah joined Planet Fitness and started going religiously, 5 times a week, sometimes 6. She'd come home glowing, talking about how good exercise made her feel. She bought new workout clothes, started wearing makeup to the gym. "Since when do you wear makeup to sweat?" I asked one morning as she applied mascara before her 7 a.m. workout. "Since I realized I don't have to look like garbage just because I'm exercising." "What's wrong with wanting to look nice?" Nothing, I guess. Except Sarah had never cared about looking nice before. She'd been beautiful to me in sweatpants and my old t-shirts for 16 years. Why did she suddenly need to look nice for strangers at the gym? The fifth sign was the phone calls. Sarah started getting calls she wouldn't answer in front of me. She'd glance at the screen, decline the call, then disappear into another room to call back. When I asked who it was, she always had an excuse. Work stuff, Emma's friend's mom, the insurance company, always something boring, always something that somehow required privacy. By May, I was losing my mind. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't prove it. Every time I brought up my concerns, Sarah made me feel like I was being paranoid and controlling. Thomas, you're being ridiculous. I'm trying to better myself, and you're acting like that's a crime. Maybe I was being ridiculous. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe 16 years of marriage had made me suspicious and insecure. Maybe I should trust my wife. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday in June. Sarah was at the gym. Again, the kids were at friends' houses for the night. I was home alone, feeling sorry for myself and drinking a beer on the couch when my phone rang. Thomas, it's Janet. Janet was Sarah's co-worker at the dental office. Nice woman, around 50, married with grown kids. Hi, Janet. Sarah's not here. She's at the gym. There was a pause, a long pause. Thomas, honey, Sarah quit the dental office 3 months ago. The beer slipped from my hand. I barely noticed the cold liquid soaking into the couch cushion. What? She gave her notice in March, said she needed time to figure things out. I thought you knew. 3 months. Sarah had been lying to me for 3 months about where she went every day. When I asked about work, she'd tell me stories about patients and procedures. She'd complain about Dr. Peterson's bad moods and Janet's new haircut. All lies. After Janet hung up, I sat in that beer-soaked couch for 2 hours, trying to make sense of it. Where was Sarah going every day? Where was the money coming from? She was still contributing to our joint account, still paying her share of the bills. If she wasn't working, where was the money coming from? When Sarah came home from her workout, I was waiting. How was the gym? Good. Busy night. Did a full hour on the elliptical. She wasn't even breathing hard. Her hair wasn't messed up. She didn't smell like sweat. How was work today? Same old stuff, Mrs. Patterson came in for her cleaning. She's still afraid of the drill. Mrs. Patterson, a detailed lie about a patient she hadn't seen in 3 months. I wanted to confront her right then. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake her until she told me the truth. But something held me back. Some instinct that told me I needed more information before I played my hand. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed my wife. Sarah left the house at 8:30, same as always. Instead of going to work, I got in my truck and stayed 3 cars behind her Honda. She drove across town to a Starbucks I'd never seen before. She went inside and came out 20 minutes later with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, maybe 45, wearing a suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. Dark hair, confident walk, handsome in that effortless way that some men are. The kind of man who'd never worked construction, never had dirt under his nails, never worried about making payroll. They got into his car, a black BMW, and drove to a hotel. Not a motel, a hotel, the kind with a marble lobby and valet parking. I sat in my truck in that parking lot for 4 hours, 4 hours, watching the entrance, waiting for them to come out. When they finally did, Sarah was laughing at something he'd said. She looked happy, happier than I'd seen her in years, happier than she looked when she was with me. They kissed goodbye in front of the hotel. Not a quick peck, a real kiss. The kind of kiss that said this wasn't their first time. I followed Sarah to the gym, where she went inside for exactly 45 minutes, long enough to mess up her hair and work up a light sweat, long enough to create an alibi. Then I followed her to the grocery store, where she bought ingredients for my favorite dinner. When I got home, I sat in my truck for another hour, trying to process what I'd seen. My wife was having an affair. My wife had quit her job 3 months ago and was having an affair with a man who could afford to spend Friday afternoons in expensive hotels. But how was she paying for things? How was she contributing to our household expenses without a job? That night, Sarah made my favorite dinner, pot roast with potatoes and carrots. She opened a bottle of wine. She asked about my day and listened to my answers like she cared. "I love you," she said as we cleaned up the dishes. "I love you too," I said, "because what else could I say?" but the words felt like ash in my mouth. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own marriage. I checked our joint bank account and found that Sarah's contributions were coming from transfers from an account I didn't know existed. I found receipts in her purse for restaurants I'd never been to. I discovered she had a new credit card, one that didn't come to our house. But the worst discovery came when I decided to talk to the one person who knew Sarah almost as well as I did. My mother. I drove to Mom's house on a Wednesday afternoon. She was in her garden, wearing the old straw hat Dad had bought her years ago. She looked up when she heard my truck and smiled. "Thomas, what a nice surprise. Come help me with these tomatoes." We worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Mom had always been easy to talk to. After Dad died, she'd leaned on me more, and I'd tried to be the son she deserved. We were close. Or I thought we were. "Mom, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." She straightened up, brushing dirt from her hands. "Of course, honey. What is it?" "Is Sarah having an affair?" The question hung in the air between us. Mom's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, concern, and something else. Something that looked like guilt. "Thomas, why would you ask me something like that?" "Because you two talk all the time, because she's been acting strange for months, because I followed her yesterday and watched her spend 4 hours in a hotel with another man." Mom sat down heavily on her gardening stool. For a moment, I thought she was going to tell me the truth. I thought she was going to be the mother I needed her to be. Instead, she looked me in the eye and lied. "Honey, I think you're being paranoid. Sarah loves you. She's just going through a rough patch. Maybe she's depressed. Maybe she needs to talk to someone. She quit her job 3 months ago, Mom. She's been lying to me every single day." "Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she didn't want you to worry about money." Every word out of her mouth was deflection. Every sentence was designed to make me doubt what I'd seen with my own eyes. "You know something," I said. "I can see it in your face. If you know something and you're not telling me, that makes you part of this." Mom stood up and brushed off her jeans. "Thomas, you're upset, and you're not thinking clearly. Go home to your wife. Talk to her. Work it out." I left Mom's house feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. The two women I trusted most in the world were both lying to me. That night I confronted Sarah. "I know about the hotel." She went pale, but recovered quickly. "What hotel?" "The Marriott downtown. You and your boyfriend, Friday afternoon." Sarah sat down at the kitchen table and put her head in her hands. For a moment, I thought she was going to confess. I thought she was going to tell me the truth, and we could figure out how to fix this. Instead, she looked up with tears in her eyes and said, "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." "He's a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist." Even her confession was a lie. Therapists don't meet clients in their hotel rooms, Sarah. "This one does. He has an unconventional practice. He thinks traditional therapy is too sterile. He meets clients in comfortable environments." I stared at my wife, this woman I'd loved for 16 years, the mother of my children, and realized I didn't know her at all. "You're lying." "I'm not lying, Thomas. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to work on us. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react like this." She was good. She was so good at making me feel like I was the problem, like my reasonable reaction to her lies was somehow proof that she was right to lie. But I'd seen them kiss. I'd seen the way she looked at him. "What's his name?" "Dr. Martin." "What's his full name? Where's his office?" "Thomas, this is exactly why I didn't tell you. You're being controlling and suspicious." I spent the rest of that night on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Sarah went to bed early, claiming she had a headache. Through the thin walls, I could hear her whispering on the phone. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the hotel. I sat in the lobby for 3 hours, waiting. Finally, I saw him. Sarah's therapist, walking through the lobby with a woman who wasn't my wife. I followed him to the elevator and got on with him. "Excuse me," I said as the doors closed. "Are you Dr. Martin?" He looked confused. "No, I'm sorry. I think you have me confused with someone else. You're not a therapist?" "No, I'm in real estate. Marcus Webb." He handed me a business card. "Marcus Webb, Real Estate. Not Dr. Martin. Not a therapist." I went home and found Sarah getting ready for her appointment. "Going to see Dr. Martin?" "Yes, we're working on some deep issues today." I handed her Marcus Webb's business card. "Is this your therapist?" Sarah looked at the card and her face crumbled. Finally, the lies were over. "Thomas, I can explain." "Don't. Just don't. I'm done with your explanations." I packed a bag and went to a motel. I needed time to think, to process what my marriage had become. But first, I needed to understand how long this had been going on. I hired a private investigator. It felt like something out of a bad movie, but I needed proof. I needed documentation for the divorce I was now certain was coming. The investigator's report arrived a week later. Sarah had been seeing Marcus Webb for 8 months. He was married with 2 kids. He was giving her money, substantial amounts. The account she'd been using to contribute to our household expenses was funded entirely by him. 8 months. While I was working the 10-hour days to support our family, Sarah was building a life with another man, and he was paying for the privilege. But the report contained something else that hit me like a punch to the gut. The investigator had photos of Sarah and Marcus at various restaurants and hotels over the past 8 months. In several of the photos, they weren't alone. My mother was with them. There was Mom, smiling and laughing with Sarah and Marcus at an expensive steakhouse. There was Mom, hugging Marcus like he was family. There was Mom, getting into Marcus's BMW with Sarah for what looked like a shopping trip. My mother wasn't just covering for Sarah's affair, she was part of it. She was socializing with them. She was accepting this man as Sarah's boyfriend while I worked myself to death trying to be a good husband. I drove to Mom's house with the photos in my hand. I was shaking with rage, but I forced myself to stay calm. "We need to talk." Mom took one look at my face and knew her lie was over. "Thomas, sit down." "No, I'll stand. How long have you known?" "Known what?" I threw the photos on her coffee table, pictures of her smiling and laughing with the man who was destroying my marriage. Mom looked at the photos and sighed. 6 months. 6 months. You've known for 6 months that Sarah was cheating on me, and you said nothing. It's complicated, Thomas. No, it's not complicated. It's simple. Your daughter-in-law is having an affair, and instead of telling your son, you decided to become friends with her boyfriend. Mom sat down and suddenly looked every one of her 68 years. Sarah was unhappy. She came to me crying, saying she felt trapped. She said you didn't understand her anymore. "So, you told her to have an affair?" "I told her to follow her heart." I stared at my mother, this woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me right from wrong, who'd always been my moral compass, and realized she was a stranger. "You told her to follow her heart. What about my heart, Mom? What about your son's heart?" I thought maybe if she got this out of her system, she'd come back to you. Maybe she'd appreciate what she had. By taking money from another man? By lying to me every day? By making me feel crazy for 6 months? Mom started crying. "I was trying to protect everyone." "You were protecting Sarah and her boyfriend. You were protecting yourself from having to choose sides. You weren't protecting me. Thomas, you don't understand. Sarah said she'd leave you anyway if she couldn't have this. At least this way, there was a chance she'd stay." "So, you helped her cheat on me to keep her from leaving me?" When she said it out loud, it sounded as insane as it was. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. and saw someone I didn't recognize, someone who could rationalize betraying her own son to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. Mom, you've been lying to me for 6 months. Every time I came to you worried about my marriage, you made me feel like I was being paranoid. You knew exactly what was happening and you helped them hide it. I was trying to spare your feelings. By lying to me, by making me doubt my own sanity, by sitting at my dinner table and pretending to care about my marriage while you were having lunch with the man who was destroying it? Mom didn't have an answer for that. I picked up the photos and headed for the door. Thomas, wait, don't leave like this. I turned back to look at her one more time. You made your choice, Mom. You chose Sarah and Marcus over me. Live with it. Duh. I filed for divorce the next day. Sarah tried to fight it, claiming she wanted to work things out. She promised to end things with Marcus. She promised to get counseling. She promised to be the wife I deserved, but I was done with her promises. The divorce took 8 months. Sarah tried to take half of everything, including my construction business. She claimed she'd contributed to its success and deserved compensation. The court disagreed, especially when my lawyer presented evidence of her adultery and the money she'd been receiving from Marcus. In the end, Sarah got the house. I didn't want it anymore anyway. I got my business, my truck, and my self-respect. The kids chose to live with me, which surprised everyone except Sarah. Even teenagers can recognize authenticity when they see it. My mother tried to reconcile with me several times. She'd call, send cards, show up at my new apartment. I was polite, but distant. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive, and enabling your son's wife to cheat on him while making him feel crazy is one of them. Sarah married Marcus 6 months after our divorce was final. They had a small ceremony. I heard Mom was there. The kids went to the wedding. Emma came home crying. Dad, it was so weird. Everyone was pretending like this was normal, like Marcus wasn't the reason you and Mom got divorced, like Grandma wasn't friends with him while he was breaking up our family. Out of the mouths of babes, it's been 2 years now. I've rebuilt my life from scratch, new apartment, new routines, new perspectives. The kids are doing well. They see Sarah and Marcus every other weekend, but they come home to me. I've been dating someone new, Lisa, a teacher who's honest and kind and everything Sarah wasn't. We're taking it slow, but I'm learning to trust again. Mom still lives 10 minutes away, but we might as well live in different states. We see each other at the kids' school events and family gatherings, but we're polite strangers now. She lost her son to protect her daughter-in-law's affair, and now she has neither of us. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not fighting harder for my marriage, if I regret not trying counseling or giving Sarah another chance. The answer is no. Because here's what I learned. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. When your wife can look you in the eye and lie about where she's been, who she's with, and how she's spending her days, she's not the woman you married anymore. Maybe she never was. And when your own mother can watch you suffer, watch you doubt yourself, watch you blame yourself for your marriage falling apart, and say nothing while she has dinner with the man who's destroying your life, that's not a mother. That's a co-conspirator. I lost a wife and a mother in the span of 1 year, but I gained something more valuable, the knowledge that I deserve better than people who can lie to my face and sleep soundly at night. Some betrayals cut so deep they change who you are. But if you're lucky, they change you into someone stronger, someone who won't accept lies as love or betrayal as loyalty. I'm one of the lucky ones. The truth hurt like hell, but it set me free. And that's worth more than all the false peace in the world.